All right, today is Friday, March 29th, 2019, and this is the Kubernetes CSI implementation meeting. Let's go ahead and start with our miscellaneous topics. PRs that need attention. This is, okay, deprecating the stuff. I think this, okay, I'll go ahead and take a look. I took a quick glance at this and it seemed okay to me. All right, next topic is selecting nodes for provisioning of local storage. Did anyone here request this topic? No? Okay. I think we will leave this for next time then. All right, moving on. Cluster driver registrar. I guess this is kind of deciding what our fate is or what its fate is. We were thinking that we should just abandon the cluster driver registrar and recommend that people create the CSI driver objects themselves when they go and deploy their drivers. So far, it doesn't seem like anyone has objected to this. We also have kind of low attendance today, so I don't know if I want to like officially declare this. So maybe I'll check in again on Monday. Okay, let's do a final check on Monday to figure that out.
Is it cool if I add a topic here?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I know in yesterday's SIG meeting, there was talks about Go modules and managing all the dependencies across all the repositories. So I guess I think I kind of wasn't completely paying attention then, but what was kind of the action item? And is any of those action items going to change any of the current work that we have queued up for things like consistent sidecar?
We were in the SIG architecture yesterday. We were specifically discussing how we could address the vendoring dependency that we have, that external provisioner has on external snapshotter. And one of the discussions that, or one of the suggestions that SIG architecture had was to try using the new Go modules in Go 2.0. That's supposed to be able to handle these transitive dependencies better and be able to have like multiple versions of a dependency.
Okay, yeah, because I'm pretty much going through a lot of headaches just dealing with like especially after we introduced meter election. Now I have to maintain the CSI libutils dependency with all the Kubernetes dependencies. So I guess what I'm asking for is like, so do I have the go ahead to try using Go modules for like external attacher or whatever other sidecar is going to need meter election?
I see. I don't know if like, so I think we want to release the sidecars for 1.14 soon. I'm not sure how much time it's going to take to potentially try to convert everything to use Go modules right now. So I think at least for the immediate term, we should probably still stick with the dep versioning scheme, and then we can, for the next, once we release the sidecars, then for the next round of stuff, we can look into switching over to Go modules.
Okay, that works for me. Do you have a date in mind for when you want all the sidecars ready for 114?
As soon as possible.
Okay, and that's going to include all the leader election work, ideally?
Yeah, I think ideally we would want all the new leader election stuff in there.
Okay, noted.
Okay.
Andrew, are you working on leader election for Snapshotter?
Yeah, so I was kind of queued up that work,
Okay.
but I've been trying to delegate this to some new contributors because it's a relatively easy task, aside from the vendoring. But given, yeah, I'm realizing now that like maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe we should just kind of bump this up in my priority list and get this done sooner rather than later.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I'm just gonna summarize this.
Oh, Michelle, also
Yeah.
there was a suggestion by Ken Owens that Kubernetes and the controller runtime may solve the problem.
How?
Don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure
that's why
how
I was asking how that can, yeah, because it's still going to have the same dependency issues, I think, unless both the snapshotter and the provisioner are using the controller runtime. But I mean, it's the same. It's the same issue, same dependency.
Yeah,
issue.
I'm not sure how using KubeBuilder would solve the problem. So,
Okay.
but I'm also not familiar with KubeBuilder, so I'm not sure. But I wouldn't expect it to, because this seems more like a code organization.
Right. Basically, just it will generate stuff for you, basically.
Okay. All right.
Yes, Patrick. Sorry, I had connection issues. That's why I wasn't at the beginning of a meeting. This one use case question, that was something that I filed. This about select nodes for provisioning of local storage. It's kind of also related to the question of how to specify a file system for formatting a volume. I've always wondered why that is in the storage class and why you can't just set it inside a persistent volume claim, for example.
That is because of legacy reasons.
Yeah.
That was how we did it. And the file system really should have been in the PVC, but that wasn't the way it was done. So we're kind of stuck with this.
Yeah. Because ultimately, this is something that someone who wants a volume needs to decide, and that means it needs to be in the PVC because that's what it's getting created to request a volume. And the use case that I'm listing here is about local storage, which is even worse because then you can't just have one storage. We could. This is basically a CSI driver specific parameter that we can currently only put into the storage class, but in contrast to file system types that are fairly limited, this is really something that's dynamic and that just doesn't fit into the storage class at all. So I was wondering whether it has been considered to extend a persistent volume claim to allow, say, driver-specific parameters.
Yeah, so that is a very hot topic. That's a very hot topic that SOD really feels strongly we should not allow, because doing that breaks the portability of persistent volume claims.
Yeah, but persistent volume claims in this case are not portable, at least for the use cases that I have in mind. The application isn't portable, full stop. It's about a PMEM-enabled application that knows that it needs persistent memory, and this is not your typical portable application that can run with any storage driver.
I understand. It's just like the moment we introduce it, then that's just going to open a gate for everyone, and it's going to it's going to encourage people to have all these bad practices.
So
I
Patrick,
think, oh, go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, I agreed with where Patrick was coming from, especially the file system stuff, but I've also finally just accepted that, this is how it is. The workaround, and I think I responded on one of the threads somewhere, but the introduction of block has given us a nice compromise for that, because now in my case, I just do everything as block and then use a sidecar to do whatever file system the user wants.
Yeah, but that's a workaround for the file system case, but not for selecting nodes, because that's something that has to be happened before the block device even gets created.
So what do you mean by selecting nodes? So you have you have two cases here, right? You have a file system case and you have a selecting node case.
Yeah, the selecting node case is what we do in the PMEM CSI driver that has a central provisioner, a controller instance, which handles the usual create volume call, but then it actually reaches out to specific nodes in the cluster, determines which nodes have local storage, local PMEM storage available, and creates the requested volume on one of them. And then via topology, we make that known to Kubernetes that this volume is only available on this one node, and if an application wants to use it, needs to land on that node. So that works. But because this is a special case, we are expecting that admins will want to handle applications and such local volumes with a higher degree of control than we can currently offer to them. So currently we can't let them choose one node in the cluster as a high availability node that has local volumes and has certain applications running on them. That is.
So I think this is where delayed binding comes in, right? Because then the application can use node selectors to restrict their pod to specific nodes, and then you will get a subset of nodes to choose from.
Yeah, it's kind of feels like a workaround, because currently, unless people actually do specify specific nodes for the pod, it will land somewhere based on the entirely wrong criteria. Current RAM usage, CPU usage, that will then be used for the Kubernetes scheduler. But yeah, I agree. If people actually do manage where it lands, that may be the right solution. But then we need this one case that we currently have, this one issue where the provisioner currently handles topology in such a way that this doesn't work reliably. We've discussed that in this one issue where it treats the actual node where the pod has landed as a suggestion, and the driver isn't, at least by the standard, not required to deploy or create the volume actually on that one volume, on that one node.
Yeah, so I think there's a known proposal to fix that.
Yep.
Right? It just has to be implemented.
Okay.
So I think this is solvable. For the FS type use case, I think it might be worth trying to come up with a design to figure out how to add FS type to PVC, because I think that is the way that it should have been done originally. But we'll have to figure out how to handle the error cases and backwards compatibility cases and all of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, I wanted to point out, I've been going to, I think, API architecture, one of them, and they've been talking about, actually API SIG node, and they've been talking about runtime class as a way to influence how scheduling works, and it would this issue be something to consider as far as as a runtime class where you can add additional policies where volume lands with this issue?
It certainly is another aspect of a problem that we are currently relying on Kubernetes, or we let Kubernetes schedule a pod onto a node where the pod potentially can't even run, because for example, if we know that it needs a PVC with local storage that hasn't been provisioned yet, then one of the criteria is that it needs to land on a node that actually has that storage, and that problem hasn't been solved at all.
Yeah, and I think that's the runtime classes. That's one of the things they're trying to solve, is to kind of extend how the policies are described, where you can have a runtime class that says, X amount of attributes is for this particular node, and only pods that meet these particular criteria can land there. So
I
it's
think
probably
also, I don't know if I want to mix this up with runtime class, because
okay.
runtime class is specifically handling like container runtimes. But I think there's basically a couple known missing gaps in supporting local storage, right? So there's a couple items here. There's first passing FS type through PVC. There is this issue here above about restricting the topology that we give to drivers. And there's also exposing local or exposing, I guess, like storage pool capacity for provisioning.
Yeah, and that is relevant for ephemeral volumes also, because the current ephemeral volume design, it just assumes that local storage is unlimited, or
yes,
it's basically not tracked as a resource that needs to be allocated.
Correct. So those are definitely some known gaps that we have today, and really we need someone to take ownership and kind of lead a solution for this.
Yeah. So I guess I can take the one about provisioner and this topology thing, because that should be an easy fix that at least addresses the immediate need. FS type, yeah, would be nice to have, but it's not such a big deal for us. So that I guess will remain open for a while longer. I don't know. And the storage pool capacity for provisioning, I'm certainly interested in that, in particular if we really want to have, for example, the PMM CSI driver also support ephemeral volumes. So yeah, that requires further thought.
Yeah, so I think this is useful for ephemeral volumes. This is useful for local persistent volumes, like LVM or something like that.
Yep.
This is also useful. I mean, I'm not sure if there's any storage system out there that actually does this, but is it possible to restrict, say, your NFS server to certain racks?
So rack affinity is a thing with some storage. Yeah, I mean that's.
So all of this might be useful to, or here's a bunch of different use cases that could all kind of fall under this bucket. And these are currently things that are not supported today. All right. Okay. Is there anything else we wanted to discuss on this?
No.
Okay, cool. let's jump into our remaining 114 tasks. So we are almost there, just a few items left, I think, mostly around documentation. So I think they're making good progress. On this front, we have documentation and also a bug fix remaining. I think, Xing, I just took a look at it this morning and I just had one suggestion. Other than that, I think this is almost ready to go.
Okay, but I'm not sure if I can move the the syncing part back to the one host. Let me get into the cluster couldn't come up again, the error. So
Oh, I
I'll
see.
see. Yeah.
Maybe I think I was thinking more like at least like define all of the functions in one place. We
Okay.
can still invoke the functions from, the appropriate places, just as like an organization thing to make it easier to read and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Cool. All right. So that's almost done. I think resizing also, I need to check with Haman. I think it's just a documentation thing at this point. Let's see. Patrick, do you have an update on the CI?
I've updated the pull request that we were discussing. So I started working on something for the other sidecars. So I noticed that I currently don't have the jobs defined, for example, for external provisioner, and the script actually was buggy for that one. But I fixed those issues. So if we perhaps can get this currently pending test infra pull request merged, which the one that adds a lot more new jobs, then I can continue also with testing these new jobs with a test command. And other than that, yeah, I think we are, depending on how much more feedback and questions you have, we are getting close.
Okay, cool. I will go ahead and add those to my queue today to take a look at. All right.
So,
next up is consistent sidecars. So I think the main thing that we're waiting on is to add the leader election stuff to the sidecars. And I guess there's still one remaining thing with the external attacher, is that right?
Yes, but the external attacher one, I keep getting conflicts on that, and I don't think it's super important that we get that in for 114. Like, this is just a refactor. For the leader election work, I do need a new cut of the CSI libutils
okay.
release. I just opened a PR literally like 5 minutes ago to update the CSI spec lib to 1.1.0 and to update 114 beta to 114.0.
Okay.
So
I
yeah,
will
you
take
can
a
look
look
at that and then cut the release. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. All right. I think those are, and then, okay. So after all of that, then we also still have the documentation, fixing up the documentation page. I think half of this stuff is things I'm supposed to do, so I will go ahead and try working on that today. I think once we can get the leader election stuff in, then we can start cutting new images. We'll have to figure out exactly what changes are still remaining for each of the sidecars. I think some of them are probably ready to go more than others. But yeah, we can make a call on that when we're ready. All right. I've also started a new board for 115. I tried to carry over all of the outstanding items from 114 and put them on the 115 board. Take a look at this. If there's anything on here, if there's anything missing on here, feel free to add it. All right. Is there anything else that anyone wants to bring up?
So now that we're into 115, I'll take a look at the board and make sure it's there. It's on the spreadsheet, but I wanted to make sure we rebooted the PVC as a data source, the namespace transfer, and then start talking about what we want to do for the populator pieces. So
Okay.
Those things, and then the only other thing is the iSCSI driver changes. I've got those just about done. I need to do some testing on them, so I'll probably push that out. But I'll look
Okay.
forward to seeing
Yeah, that'd be great. So I think probably all the populator stuff is and namespace transfer are big enough projects that they could actually have their own project page. Do you agree with that?
Okay. Cool. So
Like-
don't put those in 115.
No, you can put them in 115. I just wonder if so we have like a 115 board that tracks like all the work, but then we also have for the bigger projects, we have like separate boards to track all
Oh,
of
I
it
see.
there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. No, that's a great point, especially the populator stuff. That'll definitely. Okay. I'll look and see if I can create those, and then you can let me know if I did it wrong.
Okay, sounds good. Did someone have something to
Yeah,
say?
I had a quick question with the boards. So, is there a way, because I have my own board for the ephemeral stuff. When I add an issue there, does it show up in your board, or do I have to tag it, or do I just have to manually pop it in?
So it should show up here. So like under the 115 board, there's a pointer to the ephemeral volumes board.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So then when I go there, then I can see it.
Oh, it doesn't show the individual, but it'll show the link that you just clicked on. I see. Okay. If I need you to sort of take a look at something, just with just assign it to you, or in the PR, or is the board sufficient?
Oh, sorry. If you want me to look at something?
Yeah.
Oh, assign the PR to me.
Just assign it to you. Okay. Same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, are we still looking for maintainers for the fiber channel driver?
There is one person, Mathuson, who's working on it. I mean, we can definitely use more reviewers and also maintainers if you know anyone.
Yeah, I may have someone internally at VMware that may be interested, but okay, yeah, I'll reach out if that is.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Cool.
All right. Any other topics? All right. With that, hope everyone has a great Friday.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.